Excellent. Okay, so we are going to get started with our lovely recovery session for today. It's going to be yoga and then roll out. So we'll do the first half of the class as yoga, the second half of the class as our rollout. If you choose to stay for both, that's wonderful. We'll take just a quick break in between. Otherwise, doing your yoga, and then you can sign off if necessary. Okay, so what we'll begin with is our Shavasana pose, laying completely flat back down on our mats, beginning with that rest and relaxation. So let's take ourselves down there now. Just getting comfortable laying on your back. Now, Shavasana can look different on everyone, but basically what we want is just letting your feet come about as wide as the mat. You can let your hips and your feet turn out, arms down by our sides, relaxing through the shoulders. Try to rock your head a little bit until you can balance right on the base or the back of the head with your nose pointing straight up to the ceiling. And then just let go of your belly. Let your stomach relax. And we'll take a couple big deep breaths. I want you to notice if your brain is being super busy right now, if you're thinking about a whole bunch of stuff. See if we can set those thoughts aside, put them in a box, lock the box, put the key in your pocket. Remember, you can come back to those thoughts after our recovery session. Right now, what I want us to focus on is our breathing, just slowing everything down, giving our brain some time to rest and clean up, giving our body a chance to do the same. Now, while we're here, I want us to take a big inhale, reach those arms all the way up overhead, nice big stretch, like you're just waking up from a wonderful night's sleep. Taking that big morning stretch, open up through the arms, the shoulders, the back. And then let's let go of those arms. We'll gather our knees into our chest, give ourselves a huge hug. And then if it feels good, you can rock side to side. It's like a back massage that we're giving ourselves. Now I want you to keep a hold of your legs, give them a little bit of a tighter squeeze into your belly, and then roll through your feet and your ankles. Just notice how that's feeling. Any cricks and cracks today? Okay, let's take our single leg stretch. We hold onto your right knee, lower your left leg so that your left leg is nice and straight. And we'll try to open that right knee out towards your right shoulder. Now, I still want you to hug the thigh in towards the belly. See if you can pull that knee out towards your shoulder. And then draw the leg across towards your left shoulder. Ooh, if you feel tight through that hip flexor area, you might feel a little pinching. Try to do a couple big slow breaths here. Drawing the leg through the middle and lower it all the way down. We'll take that left knee in, give it a squeeze, and we'll open that knee out towards the left shoulder. Try to relax those shoulders down, right leg is straight in the mat. We'll bring the knee across towards our right shoulder. Ooh, I'm definitely feeling some hip flexor stuff today, so notice what you're feeling. It could be different from me. It could be different from the last time you did yoga. Come through the middle and lower down. Good, let's do some more hip stretch. So we'll come into our glute bridges. Draw the feet onto the floor, knees are bent, heels are nice and close to the bum, arms down by our side. We'll take that first inhale, lift our hips up towards the ceiling, and exhale, lower. So we get to activate our core, our hips, lots of control here. Inhale, lift, and we stretch through the front of the body. Exhale, lower as we massage that spine to come down. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, lower down. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, lower. Very good. Now I want you to take your feet a little bit wider. So they're about as wide as the mat. Arms come out to the side. We'll do some big windshield wipers. Lower the legs right and then left. And this can be slow. What I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself right now, okay, where do I feel this? How does this feel? Are there any cricks and cracks? Is there any pulling or stretching? Or does it feel pretty good? And just notice that. Good, we'll do one more each side. Nice big rocks right to left. All right, now taking your feet back into normal. Crossing your right ankle over left knee, we start with a gentle figure four. So I don't want us to thread the needle. I don't want us to do anything with our arms. For now, I want us just to keep our hands out to the side. Keep your back flat on the floor and just have that right ankle crossing over the left knee. What you can start to do is think about pressing the right knee a little bit farther away. Don't use your hands, just pressing that knee a little bit farther away from your face, and you might feel a stretch through the outside of your right hip. Just nice and gentle. All right, now from here, I want us to slide that right knee on top of the left knee. So now it's crossing your legs, just like you're sitting at a fancy restaurant and you're crossing your legs properly. Keep your arms out to the side. Now let's take both knees over to the right, little spinal twist. And try to keep your shoulders pressing down to the floor and just look over that left arm. Now you might feel a stretch anywhere along that left side of your body. Feels really good for me. I'm not sure how it feels for you today. Hopefully good. Remember to breathe. Now we're going to come through the middle, keep your legs crossed, and do the other side. So same thing, I want you to try to keep your shoulders pressing down into the floor. You can look over your right arm this time. Just a little twist and pull. And we'll come up through the middle, and you can uncross the leg. Now just go ahead and do some butterflies or windshield wipers before we do the other side. We'll take the feet flat on the floor again. Cross that left ankle over right knee for figure four. Again, I just want you to keep your arms out to the side. Just relax here for a moment, noticing how this feels. If you notice any stretch, if you think you need just a little bit more, let's just imagine you think about pressing your knee away. So don't use your hand, just push your knee away a little bit farther. Notice if there's any stretch happening through the outside of that left hip. Couple more breaths. All right, now slowly sliding that left knee on top of right. Again, that fancy cross-legged position. Keeping our arms down on the floor, we're going to rock the legs over to the right first. Ooh, crick, crack. You heard that? That was my back releasing all that crick. I don't know how your back is feeling. We'll look over to the left side, but I definitely needed that. Now, sometimes we crack, sometimes we don't. Just noticing how your body's responding. Don't force anything. And remember that every time we do our stretching, it might feel a little bit different. All right, from here, let's slowly come through the middle. We'll go the other way. Drop the legs over to the left side. We can look over that right arm. Again, let's try to keep our shoulders pressing down to the floor. Notice where you're feeling this, if it's in that right hip or if it's anywhere along your side. Coming up through the middle and release the feet. Good. Again, do the some butterflies or some windshield wipers. And now slowly, let's roll over onto our side. We're going to pick ourselves up onto hands and knees in our tabletop position. Now take your time doing this. We'll bring those knees directly underneath our hips. Our shoulders are shoulders are stacked right on top of our wrists. Make sure you're spreading your fingers out. Okay, from here, I want us to go through some cats and cows. We'll inhale, open the chest, look forward. And then exhale, round the back, really pull the belly in. Inhale, open the chest. Exhale, round the back. Inhale, open. Exhale, round. We'll do one more. Inhale, open. Exhale, round. Good, holding tabletop. We're going to get ready for thread the needle. Taking that right arm up nice and high, big inhale. Exhale, thread all the way underneath, laying into that right shoulder. You might need to reach that left arm forward or straight up to the ceiling. You can even play with it. If you choose one arm and it doesn't feel quite right, don't be afraid to change that arm position. And then slowly make our way up. And we'll do the other side. Inhale, left arm. Exhale, reach under. And again, you can take that right arm forward or up. Notice how that's feeling through the upper back, through the shoulder area. All right, coming up through the middle. And now taking our hands and go for a little walk forward, like you're a golden retriever taking a big stretch. I want you to stick your bum up to the air, drop your head down towards the ground in our puppy dog stretch. Now, if you're able to get your chin on the mat, you might get a better stretch. Otherwise, forehead is fine. Couple slow breaths. And then slowly sink your hips down into child's pose. Now take a couple of big breaths here. This is a good opportunity to check in with how your brain is feeling. Have we been able to keep all of those thoughts locked in that box? If you find you're getting distracted, just try again. And now let's add in that side stretch. So walk your hands to the right, left hand on top of right, and then sit back into that left hip and pull gently down that whole left side of your body. Now slowly walking those hands over to the left. Sink back into that right hip this time, pulling down that whole right side. Very good. Coming through the middle, we're going to return into that tabletop position. Getting ready for your beautiful lunge position. We'll start with runner's lunge, stepping right foot forward, placing knee directly on top of heel. Remember, we always want to work on alignment. You can keep your hands on the floor, or you can come up onto your thigh. Now noticing if you're twisted or tilted, and let's take our whole pelvis and shift it forward. Always able to wiggle those toes. So if you feel like you can't wiggle your toes, inchworm those toes just a little bit further forward. And then if you can, let's lift those arms up nice and high. A couple of options here while we're holding our runner's lunge with that right foot forward. That left hip is getting a really nice stretch. Let's keep the core engaged. With those arms up, I just want you to drop the shoulders down. Let's stretch through the left tricep. Okay, so bend your left elbow as well. So now we're stretching that whole left side of the body. Now just watch. Quite often when we stretch our left tricep, or any tricep, we'll tuck our chin down. But I don't want you to do that. I want you to keep your chin off your chest, keeping your beautiful neck open. Makes the stretch so much better. And if you fall out of it, that's okay. Sometimes our balance is silly, but that's okay if we do that. This is a good place to practice our balance. Very good. Now I want you to reach your arms back up if they're raised. Take your hands all the way down to the mat. We're going to add in a twist, another reach, okay? So with your left hand, you can either have a flat hand or a fist. I have shorter arms, so I do a fist just to give me an extra couple of inches. And then we reach that right arm all the way up to the ceiling if you can. Now notice if this knee just fell. I want you to keep that knee so it's stacked on top of your heel. Really open. Lift that right arm nice and high. Good. a little bit longer. You're doing a great job. We're gonna keep stretching this position. So hold on for a second. As we bring that right hand down as well, we're going to rock back into our left knee. Some of us might be able to keep our hands on the floor. If this is feeling really, really intense, there's way too much happening behind that right knee, you're going to carefully walk yourself up. Engage your belly, flat back, shoulders down, hands are on your hips. And then just with a slight knee bend, little bit of a knee bend here, we can slowly maybe bend forward. Now I've been feeling a little stiff in my back this week, so I'm going to make sure that I'm really pulling my belly muscles in so I'm not hurting my back. So if anyone feels like that, just double check that you're engaging your abdominal muscles. You're thinking about your posture so that you don't hurt your back in any of these poses that we're thinking about other muscles. Remember to breathe. Sometimes when we have a really tight muscle and the stretch is feeling quite intense or it's really, really, sensitive, sometimes we hold our breath. So I just want to remind everyone, slow, big breaths. Okay, now from here, we're going to rock the leg forward. We have one more stretch in this lunge position. Take both hands to the inside of that right leg, heel toe that right foot out a bit wider. We're in our lizard pose now. Knee right on top of ankle, shoulder right on top of wrist, lining the shin up with the arm. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you come down onto your elbow. Maybe you kind of rock it or move it or bring your leg in and out. You can stretch it. You can turn your foot out a little bit if you need to. That back leg, if you need to have more, you might need to bring the knee up, straightening out the leg. This is definitely one that you have to experiment with. So we'll hold this just for a couple more breaths. Notice what you're feeling, mostly through the groin area, the left hip flexor, maybe the inner right thigh. Now slowly, if you are on your forearms, let's come back up onto your hands. You can carefully sweep that around and we'll come into our child's pose. Lots of feelings right now on those hip flexors, so just take your time getting back there. Maybe you can get a bit smaller and drop that head down. And we'll begin again with the other leg. Coming forward into tabletop, this time the left foot is going to step forward. We can come up onto the thigh if you choose to, otherwise you can always keep the hands down on the floor. Taking alignment checks, making sure that we're feeling pretty straight, and then shifting the hips forward. Wiggle the left toe so you know that your knee's stacked properly. If you're able to, we'll bring those arms up, but shoulders down. Always aware of our posture, right? Okay, are we engaging our belly? It's hard. We've got good strength. Let's take that right elbow, bend it for tricep. And again, just check if you've collapsed your chest. Let's lift up nice and tall, long, beautiful neck. I always think that if we were royalty and we had a crown on our head, we would never drop our crown, right? We always want to keep that crown held high. Good, keep stretching. And make sure you're not pulling or yanking on that shoulder. We're just letting it straighten out. All right, now taking those arms up, slowly coming down. Get ready for that twist. So again, you can keep your right hand flat or you can fist and then you can reach that left arm. Now watch if your leg fell out. Try to keep your whole left foot on the floor and we're not sinking into that right shoulder. Strong, lifted, beautiful lines. Take one more big inhale. And exhale, release the hands. Now take both hands to, which way did I do it this time? I think we did lizard last. So we'll actually rock our hips back and do our hamstring stretch so that we repeat the same order. If you're able to keep your hands on the floor, you can do so. If that's feeling too intense, just like the last time, we'll slowly walk ourselves up a bit higher. Pull the belly in, shoulders pull back. This knee can be a little bit soft. Okay, so don't let it lock. A little bit of softness, stretching behind the leg. And again, just as we hold it, maybe we can get a little bit lower, but maybe not. Maybe that's not where we're going today, and that's okay. All right, very good. Let's slowly rock forward into that lunge again, and now we can do lizard. We'll take our hands to the inside of that left leg, heel toe the foot out a bit wider so you're comfortable. You can turn the toe out if you need to. Just keep your knee on top of ankle. And then if anyone needs more, you can come down onto your elbows, or you can stay up on your hands. And you can also take that back leg and lift it up if that helps. Otherwise, you can keep the knee down. We'll hold this for a couple breaths. All right, if you are on your elbows, you can come back up onto your hands, slowly drawing everything in, and we'll sit back into that wonderful child's pose, seeing how small you can get, reaching those arms out nice and long if you're able to. Now from here, we're going to come up into downward facing dog. You can curl your toes, lift your hips up nice and high. And as you lift your tailbone up to the sky, I want you just to start pedaling through your feet, walking the dog. We're going to be concluding our yoga practice here in a minute. Just making sure that we've really worked through those hips and shoulders, through the back and the back of the legs. Okay, let's press those heels down to the floor. And then scooping ourselves forward through plank. Take our chaturanga, that amazing controlled lower, and lift up into cobra. Pull the shoulders down, long necks, open chest, bellies in as we lift away from our hips. And then back into child's pose. One last child's pose, couple of big breaths. All right, moving forward through table. We'll come into a seated position, whatever is comfortable for you, whether it's lotus, crisscross, legs out straight if that's better. We're going to stretch our neck and shoulders before we say goodbye, or before we continue on to our rollout. Because everyone's been a little bit tense in the shoulders, I feel like, this last week. So I want to make sure that everyone's at least giving a little bit of attention just to this neck, top of back, shoulder area. So sitting up with your very best posture, please and thank you. Good. Maybe take a couple shoulder rolls too. Just get rid of those tense knots. Now, staying here, let's drop the head over to the right side. And you might feel a little bit of stretch down that left side of the neck, or you might need to change a little bit of the placement of the chin. And then if you find a spot that you think feels pretty good, let's now reach that left hand and push it away. Okay, coming up through the middle, we'll do the other side. So again, just take a couple shoulder rolls, make sure that that's good. Squeeze your belly, sit up nice and tall. Drop the head over to the left. And you might need to play with the position of that chin till you find a really good stretching point. And then you can push that right hand away if it helps. Very good. Coming up. Oh, take a couple more shoulder rolls. We're going to do one more. Very similar to thread the needle, but now seated. Take those arms out. Big stretch. Big, beautiful stretch. Thumbs up. Oh, it feels so good to open, doesn't it? Okay, cross the right arm. Scoop under with the left. Now we're pulling that right arm against the belly, but watch that the shoulder didn't just come up here. We don't ever want to practice this position. This isn't something that we like. Want to keep that shoulder down. Guide the arm over. Good, and then drop the head over to the left again. So see how there's lots of space between ear and shoulder? The shoulder's trying to come into its best position. Good, inhale, open, big, beautiful stretch again. Oh, it feels so good. Left arm across, scoop under with the right. Again, that shoulder's not yanked up way high. We're keeping it pulled back and down. And then drop that head over. So we're trying to create as much space as possible. That's what's so great about yoga, is we try to give space back to our joints and lengthen our muscles. Rather than being tight and short and small, we get longer and taller and bigger. Now big inhale, open, big stretch, and relax. Good. Now we're going to say our final goodbye before we move into our rollout or before any of you leave us today. So we'll do this properly all together because I love it. And I know that all of you like it too. Ready? Inhale, hands all the way up above head to prayer. Exhale, coming down to your heart center. Namaste. And thank you for doing the yoga portion of the practice today. So for those of you leaving, goodbye. Have an amazing rest of your day. For those of you staying, go ahead and grab your roller or your massage balls or both. Please grab a drink of water, get comfy, and we're going to get started with our rollout portion in a moment. But again, if you have to leave, that was wonderful, and I will see you next time. Okay, so a little bit of the plan then. Those of us doing the rollout portion of the class, we are going to go through the order of legs up. So we'll kind of start from the bottom and work our way up today. For no other reason than that's just the order I've chosen today. And I think if we can get the bigger stuff first, we'll just benefit, everything. We'll get all the good, happy stuff flowing through the body. Now you've probably noticed I've kept my socks on. We're doing slower yoga today. With slower yoga and with holding these stretches for a longer period of time and now going into the rollout, you might feel like your feet are getting a little bit colder because you're not moving very fast, and the stretch is requiring all of the blood or all of the attention. So the feet are getting ignored. So quite often the feet get pretty cold. So if you still have your socks on, or if you notice that you're feeling cold, feel free to have all that stuff and change it. What we're going to do to start is the feet. I said we're going to move from feet up. So I just wanted to show a couple of things here. I've got a smooth lacrosse ball. I've got a bumpy massage ball. And I've got, it kind of looks like a dough roller, but it's actually a massage wand. And then I've also got my actual smooth foam roller. I don't have my bumpy foam roller out. So what we're going to do is start with our feet, and you can use any of those objects, but I want you to stand up and I want us to work through a little bit of massage. Now, if you don't have a ball and you'd like to try one, a great alternative is a lacrosse ball or a baseball. Baseballs are actually really good, or a golf ball. So if you have any of that stuff around your house and you need to go and get it, feel free to do that. A tennis ball, I've also used a tennis ball, and tennis balls work really well. What I want you to do is play with this. And we're going to start by going forward and back, forward and back. And now you might feel something or you might feel nothing. Again, that all depends on what you need today. You can go forward and back and then kind of go to the inside of the arch and then the outside of the arch. Now, everyone can benefit from regular foot massages. Swimmers specifically. So all of you swimmers, this is great for helping prevent foot cramps or just getting the blood rolling so that you have better range of motion to point and flex your feet. Now hold it here, and I want you just to start going left to right. Left to right. And then a little bit more in your heel. Do a little bit more in your heel. And then a little bit more in your toes. Go through all the toes, and it can feel pretty funny. All right, let's just do a couple of circles, and then we'll do the other side. So you can see that I've chosen to come right up against a wall just for help with balance so I can focus on this. So now we've got the other foot and we'll start going forward and back, just nice and easy, right? Whenever we do our rolling, we usually do some big movements first. This is to, the fancy word would be to desensitize the area. So you just get used to the touch. You know, if you're a super tickly person and you just need your massage therapist to touch you first so that you're not all super tickly, it's the same kind of idea. All right, now go a little bit more to the inside. This foot feels more than the other foot did. I'm feeling this more. Go to the outside. And I'm always curious too to know what you've got around your house. You can start rocking right to left. So if you use something specifically to help you with your massage or with your rollout, let me know. Okay, you can put it in the chat later, or you can tell me the next time you see me. But I'm always curious is what people are using, how creative we're getting. Okay, now I use just the heel, kind of roll around the heel. And this is something you can do before you get in the pool every day, or before you do a workout, or even, you know, just when you wake up in the morning. I know a lot of people, as you do the toe now, before we do yoga class, if you're somebody who gets foot cramps, this is something that's really good to do just for a couple of minutes. Work through those toes, make sure you don't forget the toes, okay? And then do just some rolls. All right, shake it out, get those feet working again. Now we're going to come into the calf muscles. So you've got all of our rollers on the floor. You could use a ball, you could use your wand, or you could use your foam roller. What I want you to do is just sit down comfortably. If you've done rollout with me before, you've done calves many, many times, but I'll go through it all the same. I know it's a good reminder. Couple of different ways we can do this. We'll start by taking our hands just in back of us. Now, safe plank positions. Okay, I want us to have safe plank positions. So hands are just outside of our shoulders. They're either with fingers a little bit out to the side or facing towards our feet. Soft elbows, shoulders rolled down, belly's nice and tight. You can start to just roll back and forth on those lower legs to make sure that you've got your roller or your ball positioned properly so that you can do this. And you might need to adjust it. And you might need to adjust it all the time or just a couple of times. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not feeling much of anything when I'm doing it this way. So I'm gonna try now to come up into that full plank position with my bum off the ground. I feel a little bit more, but I think I could do more. So what I need to do today, because I need more, is I need to do one leg at a time. If you also need to do one leg at a time, let's pick a leg, any leg, put the other leg on the floor so you've got that foot on the ground. And now we can really start pressing our calf muscle into our roller. So if you're using a roller and you're noticing that you just can't quite get enough pressure, that's usually an indication that you might need to use a smaller surface area, like a ball. We've talked about this before too, as you're just moving in that calf outside to inside, up and down, that if you need, for example, somebody's fingers or somebody's elbow compared to their full hand, like a massage therapist, the full hand would be the roller, the elbow would be the ball, and then somebody's fingers or thumb would be the bumpy roller or bumpy ball, with just those different pressure points. All right, so let's switch sides now. If you ever need to give yourself a wrist break, because I know that reverse plank can be tricky. Let's switch sides. So I'm gonna put my whole weight in that foot and my hands, and then you can start really pressing into the roller. Now, interestingly, this calf is actually tighter than my other one. So that's fun to know. I love rollout sessions because we always learn so much about our own body that maybe we didn't know. Maybe because of a workout that you did this morning, you already know what areas you need to focus on today. And that's good information. We'll do just a little bit more. Get those calf muscles working, and we'll stretch them out before we move on, okay? All right, so slowly let's sit down. You can have your feet on your roller if that's comfortable, just to give some elevation. Otherwise, you can just set your legs all the way down on the ground. I want you to pull your toes up so your feet are flexed. And then with really great posture, I'm trying to get my back straight right now. I'm just gonna reach towards my feet. So it's a little bit of a hamstring stretch, but also a little bit of a calf stretch. And if you're able to touch your toes, maybe you can pull those toes just a little bit more towards your shins, getting a better calf stretch. That looks great. All right, let's slowly relax that. As promised, we're gonna work our way up. So now we've got behind the legs. Hamstrings, they're a big muscle group. Okay, they stretch all the way from behind the knees up into our hips. So what we're going to do is the same thing as we did for calf. We'll go through it the exact same way. Okay, so we'll follow the same pattern. Reverse plank position, happy hands, soft elbows, strong shoulders, lifting ourselves up and just start rocking from bum to knee. Now don't go on the knee, so stop before you get to the knee. And same thing with your hip, stop before you get to your bum. Just the back of the legs. So this might be enough for you today. If you're like me, you need just a little bit more. Let's rest your bum. Take one leg, and I'm gonna actually put myself a little bit turned sideways. Take that foot, and now I'm going to rock just on one leg, just like we did with the calf muscle. Now here's the thing. Our hamstring goes a little bit towards the outside, and it goes a little bit towards the inside, and then it's in the middle. So I kind of need you to go left side of the thigh, middle of the thigh, and right side of the thigh. And you might notice as you do that, that there's one part of your leg that feels this more than the other. And if you find that sweet spot, that's when you can stay there a little bit longer and work through that. We'll do this for just a couple more seconds. All right, and then we've got a switch. So again, just give your wrists a little bit of a break if you need it. I'm gonna switch legs, and I like the spider monkey position here. Start with the kind of general. And if it's not comfortable, I have pretty good knees, so I can get my knees flexed like this. But if you feel like that's hurting your knees, you can keep your supporting leg in front. That's okay too. I just prefer to have it a little bit closer. And then you can go inside, middle, and outside. Good. Being mindful of strong core. And if you're noticing any spot here that you need to pay just a little bit extra attention to, you can really get into that spot. So I'm feeling it more along the outside, so towards my IT band, the outside of my thigh. You might be feeling it more the inside. All right, and then we'll slowly relax that down. Again, you can have your feet elevated on the roller, or you can have them on the ground, and then just go through a little roll with the wrists, and then keeping your legs out straight. Again, flatten out your back, and then reach towards your feet. This time, you don't have to worry about whether or not your feet are flexed or pointed. I want you just to focus on giving a couple deep breaths to the back of your legs. All right, so we've done our feet, our calves, our hamstrings. Next is going to be our glutes. So what I need you to do is take your roller or your ball, and you're gonna sit on it. So if you've got a bumpy roller, I haven't said so today, but remember you can put a towel, a blanket, or something on that if it's too much. It might not be too much. Maybe you like the pressure points and it's perfect. So just be aware that you have the power to kind of change that. If you're using a ball for this, you might need to just take a rest every now and then, right? And just adjust it. So what we're going to do is take our legs out straight and try to sit so that you're between your bum and your hamstring. So you're not quite on the bones, the sits bones, but you're not on your thigh. You're kind of right in between, and you might have to rock until you get there. So there's that little space between bone and nothing. And I want you to see if you can get there. Have your legs out straight and then go for a little bit of a reach. See if you can reach for those feet. And there's gonna be a huge hamstring pull here. Try to keep your back flat. All right, now softening the knees, pull your belly in, slowly walk up. Now take yourself onto your sits bones. You feel where the bones are, and then get behind them just a little bit. So now we want to get into the meat of your bum. It's funny because we're so bony in the bum, and we want to make sure that we're massaging through the muscles. So now that we're sitting on it, you can take one side. Okay, so if I'm taking right arm, turn over to that right hip a little bit, and we'll just start rocking. And if you're noticing that this feels good, you're going to stay like this. Actually, this is really good for me today. I've hit a knot, so I'm going to stay here. But I will show you if anyone needs more. You can take, because we're laying into that right side, you can take your right foot up into a figure 4 position. If you think that this might help you more, so you could try right leg figure 4 or keep your foot on the ground. So it's actually easier and better for me today to keep my feet on the ground. Sometimes it's better to go into a more complicated position, a more advanced position, and some days, like right now, you can get after it in a words, breathing. You can get after it in a more basic version. I'm laughing because I've hit a seriously sweet spot, and that's when you're supposed to just breathe. Whew. So I don't know if you've hit any sweet spots yet, any knots. You can stay on this side if you need to, or we should switch probably over to the other side now. Whew. I might have to do this again later. I've found the mother of all sweet spots. Oh, okay, everybody. So I'm going to switch to the other side now, and just take your time. Good control here with everything. And I'm going to start with, again, both feet on the ground, just leaning in towards the other side. And then if you need to, you can cross the other leg into figure 4, if that helps you. And you could keep both hands on the ground if you wanted to. I just prefer to do one. And again, the complicated figure 4 version for me today, which is quite unusual. Usually I need the figure 4. It's not working. So I'm going to keep both feet on the ground and just lean into that right hip a bit more. Yes, so my muscles are responding better to this more basic version of the glute rollout today. So it's really fun just to play with it all the time and see, because the way that we always do it is not always the way we need to do it for that particular day. Couple more breaths here. Notice again if you have any sweet spots, if you need to hold it in any particular area or breathe into it. Good. Okay, now slowly I want you to come behind your roller or your ball. Now we're going to do another figure 4, but we're going to do what's called rock the baby. Excuse me. So you can take the roller and just set it aside. I'll face you so you can see this a bit better. So it's like a figure 4. We'll cross the right ankle up over the thigh, and you can stay here, sitting up as tall as possible, or you can hold your baby, your knee and your foot with your hands, or you can scoop them with your elbows, cradling your baby, and then you can even rock right to left. So we'll be stretching through that right hip. Oh, beautiful. All right, let's slowly set our baby down, release the leg, and we'll do the other side. So you start with your figure 4 position, or you can hold with your hands, or you can scoop up your baby, cradling in your elbows, and then sitting up so tall, rocking back and forth, back and forth. Like that Robert Munch book, Love You Forever. Just pick up your baby and rock it back and forth. Very good. Okay, let's take our last big inhale and exhale, set that down. Oh, so wonderful. Now, we're going to work up a little bit, but now we're going to flip over onto our stomach, working the hips, this time through the hip flexor, So what I need you to do, this can be really sensitive or it can be really hard to get any sort of feeling from it. So I'm going to show you first what I want, and then I'll show you a change. We've got our roller or our ball in front of us, and we're going to do hip flexor. So you have to start by laying your pelvis across. So you can see that, my shirt's a little bit baggy. You can see that we've got our hips right against the roller. So you're ahead of your lower pelvis. You're not quite on your belly. But then what you need to do is spider monkey it so that you can get into one hip at a time. And the area that we're going to do as you find that is here. So if you've got your hip, so you've got your front of your thigh up into your belly, you want to try to stretch all the way through that hip flexor. So we'll do that side, and then we'll come over and we'll do the other side. Now, the reason I was saying some of you might be very sensitive is the hip flexor can be very tight. So you might feel a lot of sensation, but you also might find that you can't get after it very well. So if you're rolling right now and you're thinking, nope, this is great, I feel a lot of stretch, I want to keep going. But if you're finding it difficult to get anything out of it, you might need to try to use your ball. And if you don't have a ball today and you're kind of struggling with finding it, that might be something that, you get for the next time. Now, if you have a ball, just be careful of how much pressure you're putting on it because it can be quite triggering, right? If you hit a sweet spot with all that pressure on such a small area, it could be really intense. But it's helpful just to keep it more localized and smaller. So if you've been doing one hip flexor for a while and you think you've done enough, feel free to switch and go over to the other side. I'm going to switch now. And the other side might be entirely different. You might need to use a different roller, might need to spend time closer down onto your thigh or more side right or left. If you find a sweet spot, remember it's okay to hold it. Again, I like to do this spider monkey version on my elbows with my knee up to the side. If that's not comfortable for you, you could keep yourself raised onto, just found a spot again. You could find yourself on your hands or your elbows. Just remember, if you do find that sweet spot, to breathe into it slowly. We'll just do a couple more breaths. And if you've done both sides, but you feel like you need to repeat the other side or try another technique, go for it. Just a couple more breaths, however. Good. Okay. Now from here, what I want us to do is just come off of the ball or the roller. That can be a lot on the hip flexors right there. So what I'd like is for us to come onto our belly, completely flat on the mat, and we're going to come into a Cobra Stretch. So just make sure that your legs aren't too spread apart. Hands come underneath your rib cage, and then we'll lift up into that big, beautiful Cobra. And what this does is it stretches our tummy muscles, which actually help pull the top of those hip flexors, opening up those hips. And then we'll come back into that super comfy child's pose and just notice how our hips are feeling. Couple big breaths here. And we've got our very last stretch coming up. And this one is going to be coming through the chest, and we'll get into a little bit of the lats if we're feeling like we need them. So as we come up, just take your time. You can do your roller or your ball on the floor, and then I'll show you how to do this up on the wall after. So as we get ready to do our chest, what I want you to think of is crossing over the very front of the shoulder. So coming up underneath your collarbone into the meaty muscle of your chest, and then across your shoulder just into kind of the front of it, okay? So you can do this on your knees, kind of like, again, a puppy dog playing with a stuffed toy on the floor. You kind of see them get their tail wagging. Very similar position to what we're doing right now. You get the front of your chest, you can straighten out that arm, and then just start rocking back and forth. Try to go nice and slow and see where you're feeling this. And then if you notice any trouble spots or any sensitive areas, You could also see about going a little bit smaller, pressing a little bit harder. If you need more force and this playful puppy dog position isn't quite working, you can come down into that spider monkey position too, and that gives you just a little bit more force. Now you might need to change the position of your arm, a little bit lower, a little bit higher, depending on where you're going with it. Now, while we're down here, we're going to switch from the chest in front of shoulder to back of shoulder into the lats. So the arm position, simply put, instead of palm down, we're going to take palm up, and I'm going to actually switch my legs. So now my other knee is bent, just that's personal preference. And now we start rolling the same pattern, but behind the shoulder into the back of the ribs. Now this one I find, especially for swimmers, is very sensitive. So if you ever need to just hold it, take a couple breaths, maybe even drop your arm, right? Maybe if that's too tense and you just need to drop down and take a couple breaths, that's okay. We'll do this a couple more times. If you're on a ball, same thing. It might just be too intense every now and then, so just relax it. Couple more breaths, and then we'll be switching sides and doing the series on the other side. Okay, so you can just switch over. I want to still face you, so I'm going to move my roller. Starting in that playful puppy position, we're up on our knees. Get the front of your chest, shoulder, and lay that down into the mat or into the ball or into the roller, whatever you've got here. And you can start that slow rock and really just explore. It's like you're an investigator and you're trying to figure out where is the sore spot. You can change the position, or if again you're not getting quite enough, you might need to spider monkey it. You might need to change the angle that you're at to get into that other shoulder, other chest a little bit better. And again, if you ever find that sweet spot, I just found it, you might need to just hold it and breathe. Again, my mechanism for dealing with sweet spot is apparently laughter today. For you, it might be or holding your breath. What we want to do is encourage that slow, deep breath. So especially when you find those trouble areas, is just try to relax your body a bit better, take a couple breaths, and then rock through it again. All right, now we're going to be switching the chest or the front into the side and the back. So you can switch your hand position from palm down to now arm forward and palm up. And then we can rock sideways. And again, I need more force, so I'm actually gonna lay on that side. That's better. So always just playing with your position and then noticing if there's any sweet spots. Take that breath, relax, and then continue and work through it. Really, the rollout in recovery, if you've been to a few of my sessions already, you should know, or you should remember me saying this by now, is that it's very exploratory, meaning that you really have to experiment and you have to kind of investigate and listen to the clues, see how your body's feeling today, what it needs, how it's responding, how you need to change your plank or your kneeling position to get after it a bit better, where you've got your arm, if it's forward or back, palm raised, palm down. Okay, so a couple more breaths. Very good. Now to come out of this, we'll actually kneel to that playful puppy position again. This time our hands are on the roller or just in front of us like child's pose. And just like in our yoga class, we did that puppy dog. Now you're gonna lift those hips up, try to reach the chest down, scooping out your upper back, stretching through the lats, the chest. All right, then slowly release out of that. I just mentioned that I will also show how to do this on the wall. So if you've got your ball, what you can do against the wall, I think most of you are aware of this by now, But you can take that beautiful cactus arm or a straight arm, so cactus or straight. Get yourself positioned against the wall with the ball coming in front of the chest, and then you can start working through the chest muscle. You can start working through the shoulder, and sometimes you might need to change the arm position or even the lats. You can take it and kind of roll, and whether you give yourself a hug while you do your lats or you've got your arm raised, you need to really play with that position, okay? So if you need some time right now to do this, you can play with it and you can try both sides. So again, you can start with it on your chest. I like the cactus position for chest because it gets that muscle, really exposes it, especially stretches the bicep. But you might need to try it with your arm out straight. Ooh, actually the arm out straight for me today, I'm totally backwards today. What normally works for me is not the case. So it's, again, just proving my point that we have to really have an open mind when we come into these stretches and not have any expectations or think we know how to stretch it. And then working through that lat as well, whether your arm is up above your head, or I like this one just to give yourself a bit of a hug and rock through the backside. All right, now at this point, we are going to conclude our recovery session. So we'll set our ball down and we'll come back to our mat. We'll work through just one final shoulder stretch before we say goodbye. But I want to make sure that you know that if there was any sweet spot or anything that you need to keep working on, please feel free to keep going after our session today, or do it again later today or tomorrow and see how it feels. And make sure you're drinking your water or you're having your recovery drink and hydrating, because we did just expose a lot of tight muscle spots. We want to make sure we're flushing through those systems, okay? Let's start by taking our forearm stretches. Just bring your hands in front of you and stretch through all those reverse planks that we had to do today. And hopefully you feel like the recovery session was helpful for you, that it was worth your time. I know time is so precious, and I appreciate all of you taking the time to work through these sore muscles and to give yourself a bit of a break. So I've just switched, and now I've got my knuckles on the floor as well. We'll come up and we'll go through a bit of a roll. Now taking our arms, reach them all the way up. Interlace your fingers. Take your hands behind your head and just open up those elbows a bit, puffing your chest. See how that feels through the upper back, through the shoulders, through the arms. I love this stretch. I think it feels so good. We'll take our elbows, hug them around your head, and then drop your chin. Now you might feel this through the back or through the neck. Just take your time. And then lifting the head, open those arms again. Again, reach the arms all the way up and just release them. And we'll take another big inhale to say goodbye, all the way up above head to prayer. Exhaling down through heart center. Namaste. And that is it for us today, everyone.